All right, Shalom Yasharala. Before we get started, we gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Chakwadash. And double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Back another video, another lesson. And in this lesson, we're gonna go into the India and Pakistan conflict. All right, we're gonna get a few scriptures on that. This is just another one of those wars popping up. As we go on and as we get further into prophecy, are eventually is going to lead. All these wars are going to lead to World War III. Okay. Now let's go over here first. I typed in on Google. It says, why are India and Pakistan at war? Right. Just to get a little summary of it. It says India and Pakistan are in a conflict primarily due to the dispute over the Kashmir region, a territory claimed by both countries. The situation has been exacerbated by crossing border terrorism, with India accusing Pakistan of supporting militants in Kashmir. This has led to multiple wars and ongoing tensions between the two nuclear armed nations. So these nations they have nuclear power. Okay, so a lot of fear out there that think this is gonna go, to nuclear war, World War III. All right, but this, that's up to the Lord, man. We can't say that's gonna go nuclear tomorrow. That's for the Lord to decide. But it says the Kashmir dispute. Some more detailed breakdown of it. It says the root of the conflict lies in the dispute over Kashmir, a region that was a princely state before partition and has been a source of contention since 1947. Both India and Pakistan, all right, claim the territory and have fought 3 wars over it. All right. I think I'm more cross-border terrorism, nuclear weapons, recent escalation, which it was a recent India, they striked Pakistan, which we'll get into. Okay. But it's a lot more you can go into if you want. Brothers are doing videos on it. I got one from End Time Headlines. Just from May 6th, it says India launches missile strike against 9 sites in Pakistan. It says the Indian armed forces have officially announced the execution of Operation Sindoor, which involved precise strikes on 9 distinct locations in Pakistan in the areas of Jammu and Kashmir under Pakistani control. In an official statement, the Indian Armed Forces detailed the operation, which they describe as a strategic effort to dismantle terrorist infrastructure that has been used as a base for planning and coordinating attacks against India. It says the statement highlights that the operation specifically targeted installations believed to support terrorism, while intentionally refraining from striking any military facilities belonging to Pakistan. The operations were characterized as focused, measured, and non-escalatory, showing India's commitment to maintaining restraint during the execution. The statement emphasized that careful consideration was given to target selection, reflecting a deliberate strategy to minimize any potential for broader conflict. This decisive action followed a tragic and, in quote, barbaric terrorist attack in Pahalgam, I hope I said that right, Kashmir, which resulted in the loss of numerous Indian lives. The Indian Armed Forces reiterated that this operation serves as a direct response to the threats posed by militants operating from these regions, reinforcing their resolve to safeguard national security. All right. So they struck 9 sites, in Pakistan, and obviously they didn't like that because it says they got another one. Pakistan to avenge India's missile strikes calls it act of war on the brink of a wider conflict. Okay. It says Pakistan's National Security Council said it had authorized the country's armed forces to avenge strikes by India, as powers, including the U.S. and China, which borders both countries, urged the nuclear-armed neighbors to show restraint. All right. It says India launched airstrikes on Wednesday in Operation Sindoor, targeting alleged terrorist infrastructure in Pakistan and Pakistan-controlled Jammu and Kashmir that it said was used as a launch pad for an attack on tourists near the town of Pahalgam, all right, on April 22nd. It says Pakistan said the strikes had killed and injured civilians, including a woman and a child, at a mosque that was hit. Pakistan's NSC calls the strikes acts of war under international law. Okay. It says in the in give me one second, in consonance with Article 51 of the UN Charter, Pakistan reserves the right to respond in self-defense at a time, place, and manner of its choosing to avenge the loss of innocent Pakistani lives and blatant violation of its sovereignty, the NSC said in a statement on Wednesday. The armed forces of Pakistan have duly been authorized to undertake corresponding actions in this regard, the statement said. It says Pakistan responded immediately to the strikes with shelling into Indian-administered Kashmir, which India said killed several civilians. Pakistan also claimed it shot down several Indian military jets. Following the strikes, there was a heavy exchange of fire that officials in each country said left more people dead. I'll read a little bit more. It says 3 planes fell onto villages in India-controlled territory, according to Indian police and residents, though it was not immediately clear if Pakistan downed them. Tensions have soared between the nuclear-armed neighbors since an April attack in which gunmen killed, 26 people, mostly Indian Hindu tourists, in India-controlled Kashmir, in some cases killing men before their wives' eyes. Man, brutal stuff. It says the 3 previous wars over Kashmir have each been bloody. The last one in 1999 killed more than 1,000 Pakistani troops, by the most conservative estimates. In the decades since, militant groups have fought Indian security forces with violence, killing tens of thousands. The two countries have clashed multiple times, most recently in 2019, when India conducted airstrikes in Pakistan after it blamed Islamabad for a suicide car bomb attack in the region. But those recent clashes did not explode into all-out war. Both sides are aware of the risk. Since 1999, the two countries have worked to strengthen their militaries, including arming themselves with nuclear weapons. You can read the rest, but there's clearly is war, all right, growing. War is growing, all right, and ultimately that's all going to lead to all-out war, World War III. All right, let's start with this Matthew, and we'll probably get some more. This Matthew 24. All right, I'll start at verse 4, and it reads, "And Yahushua answered and said," and now this is one of the disciples who became the apostles, asked Yahushua, what is the signs of your return? What should we look for? Right? And he gives them a list. Verse 4, "And Yahushua answered and said unto them, Take heed that no man deceive you by Salakia." I'm thinking I'm in Mark. "And Yahushua answered and said unto them," it says, "Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the anointed, or the Messiah, and shall deceive many." Right? "And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet." So we're hearing of these wars and these different rumors of wars, man. All right, but we're in the end, but a lot more prophecy, a couple more prophecies has to still play out. Jacob's trouble, the mark of the beast, the destruction of America, which that's gonna, also be during when World War III happens. All right, but you still got the mark of the beast and Jacob's trouble to happen. It says, "For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in diverse places. All these are the beginning of sorrow." So we're just in the beginning stages of this world, collapsing. You know, let's see if we can get something else. Let's cross-reference this. Isaiah 19:2. "And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom." You see, so people gonna be fighting one another, man. It's ultimately this is also gonna happen in America. Civil war is gonna break out, right? Matter of fact, I'm sorry, I just thought of one in Mark. Is it 13? No. Let me just look it up. Kingdom cannot stand. Let's type that in. Mark 3:24, right? It says, I'll start at 22. "And the scribes," Mark 3:22, "and the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, He hath Beelzebub, and by the prince of the devils casteth out the devils. And he called them unto him, and said unto them in parables, How can Satan cast out Satan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but hath an end." And then as you can see, this kingdom is falling. Satan is rising up against himself. You even got, Satan, that we know this is it's a spiritual demon, Satan, but it's also a physical counterpart, which is Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. They're even, going against each other, But this kingdom is obviously falling. People are fighting. We got people fighting against one another. War is all you see out here in the world is war. War. You got famines all over the world. Okay. Matter of fact, let's get Revelation 6:4. Okay. Excuse me. This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 4. I start at verse 3. It says, "The second seal, war." That's the heading. It says, "And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red." Okay, and that red horse represents Esau. "And power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth." This man took peace from the earth. That's why you see, conflict everywhere. People are, in a state of mourning. Okay, and it says, "And that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword." So that's what you see. People out here killing one another. All right, going to war with each other. That brother against brother. Right? Let's get I had something else. Oh, but let's go back to that Mark and read it in NLT. This is the NLT version. There's Mark 3:24. It says, "A kingdom divided by civil war will collapse. It says, similarly, a family splintered by feuding will fall apart. And if Satan is divided and fights against himself, how can he stand? He would never survive." Okay, give me 1 second. All right, Salaki. So clearly, that we can see that this kingdom is divided, man. All right, you got people out here, nations out here rising up against each other. All right, so war is on the brink. World War III at that. Let's get 2 Ezra 16 and 18. I'll start at 17. It says, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days," right? "The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the powers shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come. So we're in the beginning of like we read in Matthew 24. We're in the beginning stages of war, evil, pestilence. You know, let's get this in the GNT version if we can. This is this is 2nd Ezra 16 and 18. I'll start at 17. It says, I'm doomed, I'm doomed. Who will rescue me in those days? It says, troubles will come and many people will groan. Famine will come and many will die. Wars will come and the world powers will tremble. So wars are going to grow, you know. Now, like I said, we're seeing these little, starting off small scale wars, but eventually it's going to grow. Now, this war is going to, you know, is between two nuclear powers, as we saw in that article, and over here too. So if we can get some more, we can. Let's see if we can read this. Are India and Pakistan at risk of war? Here's what to know. It says tensions between India and Pakistan intensified Wednesday after India's military launched strikes against the neighboring country in response to a militant attack in Indian-administered Kashmir last month, heightening fears of war between the nuclear-armed rivals, right? It says Pakistani officials said the strikes killed at least 21 civilians, including 2 women. And as you see right here, all right, it got the video. It says the strikes have set the region on edge and shattered the fragile ceasefire that has largely held since 2021. With analysts warning of escalation in the decades-long conflict that has riven the South Asian subcontinent over the Muslim majority region of Kashmir, parts of which are controlled by India and Pakistan, though the area is claimed in full by both countries. Wednesday's aerial assault is on a far bigger scale than in 2019, when India struck a single remote Pakistani site in response to a suicide bombing that killed more than 40 Indian soldiers in Kashmir. The international community, including the Trump administration, has urged New Delhi and Islamabad to de-escalate. All right, it says, I'll read a little bit more. It says the sharp rise in tensions follows a deadly April 22nd attack on tourists near the town of Pahalgam in Indian-administered Kashmir. And we read this in, on the other article. So I'll just reiterate. It says gunmen armed with rifles killed 25 Indians and 1 Nepalese citizen. More than a dozen others were injured. The attack was the deadliest against civilians since the 2008 Mumbai attacks by the Pakistani-based militant group Lashkar-e-Taiba that killed 166 people. And, you know, you can read more on it. We read it in the other articles. But this is a growing war tensions, man. And this is going to lead, as I said, to World War III. Let's go back to Revelation. Let's get Revelation 9. All right, in 12. It says, one woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter. And that woe is World War I. These woes are World War I, 2, and 3. So World War I came, and it went. Then it says, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter, which are World War II and World War III. You get Revelation 11 and 14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. Now the third woe is what we're waiting on, is World War III. All right, this will be a nuclear war. Let's get Isaiah 9 and 5. This is Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. And it says, For every battle of the warrior is of confused noise, and garments rolled in blood. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. Okay? So every battle of the warriors with confused noise. You know, they go out, and you can hear the war chants, the war cries, But this one's gonna be different. Shall be with burning and fuel of fire, and like we read, these are two nuclear powers, right? And we can look it up real fast. I think I got it over here too. Come on, bro. Yeah, down here it says nuclear capabilities. It says the fact that both India and Pakistan are nuclear armed nations adds significant risk to the ongoing escalation. So they possess nuclear weapons, nuclear ICBM missiles. All right. So, this is just another, one of those wars we got to look out for. And it's going to, more are going to come. This is not going to be the only one, So, Lord Williams was edifying. I'll put the links. You got this one right here. Red alert. Nuclear war between India and Pakistan could trigger global catastrophe. Full risk analysis. You can go into this if you like. I'll put the link in the description. But this is where we're at. All right, prophecy is moving. So, Lord willing, it was edifying. We're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rachak Wadash, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone that teach and rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect. Lord is edified. To the next video, I'm going to say, Shalom.